This is Jeff the Big Hairy Dog. This is a webinar about mobile point of sale. And this is being recorded and will be available online later. So we have a nice PowerPoint. We don't usually go through it in depth, but it is a nice PowerPoint and it does look pretty. But what we're talking about today basically is two different platforms, Foundry Logic and Prism. Both of these can talk to Retail Pro 9 or RIL without a problem. And we're really talking about mobile point of sale, although they have some functionality. Both have some functionality for physical inventory as well. That's really not today's topic, right? And both of these have excellent little platforms as far as they can make a sale, they can add a customer, they can park a sale, and they can line bust, they could push things over. Prism really is just like having a regular workstation, right? So it's not so much you could put it on hold actually, and they could probably pick it up. Yes, all this is true. You can search items, you can search customers. Yes, all that. Let's move on to the hardware. All right, so inevitably you need a device of some kind to scan barcodes and to swipe credit cards in an encrypted environment. So you're going to need a Linea Pro or a Captuvo or something like that. These are the pieces of hardware that are available for the iPod. However, I have an iPad, and there are devices available for the iPad as well, right? So it could be either one on that point. It depends on what kind of hardware you're looking for and what you're trying to do with this whole thing, right? So I'm going to connect my connect the iPad, and there's the iPad popping up at the bottom here. Right, so there's my iPad right there, and this is just a regular iPad, right? This nothing special here. And on here I have both Foundry Logic. I have this here. This is Foundry Logic right there. Stop. This is also the Foundry Logic app, but that is the that's the mobile inventory one. The top one is the mobile POS, and of course this here is Prism over there with a little cute little Prism icon, right? Well, let's just go to. So in here, if all right, I'll log out. I'm not really fond of logging out, but I'll log out here. At the main menu, there's the settings area right here, and you can go in and you can point this towards what server you are currently using, right? Which I've already done, so you don't need to mess with that. The point is that if you were taking this device from different store to different store, connecting to the wireless network, and then you'd have to change it. You have to point it towards the server at a given store, right? So you can change that around as needed. The licensing is pretty flexible on that as well. So sign in, and boom, it logs in. At the top here, we can say new. And now here, with like a Linea Pro here in the background, get the right app here, shouldn't I? Might have too many apps open. Right, so this device here and this device here, both there's a scanner, there's buttons on both sides. Same here, there's a scanner right there, and there's a button on the side here. So with this device, either of these devices, there's a battery built in. You slip an iPod in there, the battery then charges the iPod, so it could go all day, really, basically. And so the iPod acts as the brains, but the sled acts as the encrypted credit card environment and the scanner, right? That's what's going on there. So in here, for me right now, I could go to the barcode thing, and I don't have a sled, so if I try to bring up the barcode scanner, it's just gonna bring up a camera, and I could scan with that. It's a little awkward, but it does work. It does read a barcode pretty well. Not my first choice, but it's passable. It's not that hard to scan a barcode. Now, obviously, we can also have some other options here. So the little tray at the bottom here allows us to top out to inventory. So I just pull the inventory from my host, and now I can click on something, and it would then show me the sizes for that item. I could pick one, and if I had an image, I don't think I do, it would show the image here, but I don't think we have an image, so I'm going to guess it's not going to render an image. Let's back up. So at this point, let's say I want to sell this. Top right corner, it says select. I just touch select here, and it hops back and puts that item on the receipt, right? And I could keep doing that. I could scan additional products, or I could go out and find additional products. I obviously, down at the bottom, there's a customer with a little exclamation point because we have not added a customer to this receipt. We could go to customers, and we could click new search, and we could actually find a customer here. Let's see here. Have customers. Yep, there's customers, right? So we could select someone and add them to the receipt if we want to, or not, right? Select, right? I'm going to say no. Let's not apply the automatic discount, but anything that's on that customer record is going to come over, like a regular workstation setting, right? So there's also transactional menu here that you can go in and do a transaction discount. You could access the customer, change it here. You could access the ship to customer, the comment fields, POS flags, and the fees right at the bottom there, right? So all the functionality is just right here. Anyway, when we're ready to, then of course on the top it says checkout. We click checkout. It says, hey, $72. I am not hooked up to a credit card processing device. It has to be an encrypted PCI compliant device. I could fake a credit card, or I could go cash. Let's just fake a credit card. So, of course, it's angry at me because I'm not hooked up and I can't swipe it. So I'm just going to fake it and say it's a Visa, and I'm going to click done up here and finish. And next, and email unsent. Continue. Yes, we're not going to send an email to a fake customer. But by default, both apps want to email the customer. I'm just going to tell you right out of the chute here. So click done. It just created a receipt. Now, meanwhile, back in the jungle, that receipt just popped into Retail Pro faster than I could click over and show it, right? So where is this? It? Nope, this is not. We might have too many things open here, right? We're working on that. So you see the top receipt there is 9000008, and you can see it over in the background there as well. It hopped over immediately. So that's Foundry logic. There are some, like I said, some configurations you can choose how the data comes over, whether it comes over as a held transaction, or as a sales order, or as a receipt. Mostly people just use this to sell things, so I'm going to say receipt. All right, so let's pop out of there. And let's hop into Mr. Prism. Now in Prism, I was playing around with it earlier, so I'm going to back up here. Click on that. Now this is Prism, right? This is totally Prism. This is not a third-party app. So Foundry Logic is a third-party app, and yeah, thanks Nick for that. All right, but it's designed specifically for Retail Pro. Works completely with Retail Pro. That's the only product that Foundry Logic supports. So, and I know the guy who programs it. He's outstanding. He's very good, and very responsive too. If it breaks, he fixes it. I mean, I've had him fix something for me in half an hour while I was like just prepping for a webinar, and I've had him fix my installation. So I'm going to say that I have a lot of confidence in Foundry Logic as a whole. I'm going to click a new transaction here, and we're getting forbidden. Nice. We're probably not even going to get in today, are we? All right, so and that's what Nick just did for me. But you just saw the screen we had a minute ago. It was up. That is the Prism screen. And what we will do here, it kind of bums me out that we have an error on this. So it looks like my Prism is pointing towards the wrong server for some reason. And I thought we would be fine with that. Let's see if we are fine with that. All All right, so that's regular Prism. Now, in every respect, this Prism and that Prism should be exactly the same, right? Let's see what happens if we just try and reset this one here. I'll log out. All right, well, let's let that go for a second and play around with it. But in every respect, Prism being HTML driven, being a web browser, right, is basically operating system and browser agnostic. It doesn't care if it's in iOS. It doesn't care if it's in Windows. It doesn't care if it's on Chrome or if it's on Edge. It does not like the older Internet Explorer. I will say that. I have used it on Safari, and it runs fine on Safari. So as long as it's a current browser. Now, that being said, the developer does all their development and testing on Chrome. So I don't know if that plays into the equation at all. So for the most part, I use Chrome because the developer does, for no other reason, right? And in here, whether we have a scanner attached to an iPad or whether we're just on the computer here, we would bring up an item, right? And I picked one that happens to be in conflict. The lookup code has 2 items that match. And in here we could look up a customer, right? I could pop over here to the customer on the iPad or on the and we got no customers found. I don't even know if we have customers here. Well, apparently we do have customers in here, right? Everybody's getting a discount today. What's up with that, right? All right, so try and reset the iPad here, see if we can get it to be more friendly, right? Yeah, there we go. So now the iPad is responding a little bit more normally. Let's see here. Right, so there's my initial setup. There's the server setting. To change servers, you click into the change server button, which I can't do with a mouse. Why did I think that was possible? Right, and then you would select which one you want here and set it as the default. I'm set correctly already, so I'm just going to close that. And I'm going to click connect here. Let's see if we can connect. Yeah, there it is, popping up on the iPad. And I'm going to click in there and sign in. Obviously, you can make these sign-ins as easy or hard as you want. This is just a Retail Pro login, right? So I'm using the default, but certainly we don't have to. Now let's see if it's a little bit more friendly. Oh yeah, there we go. See, so this is opened up the same way, right? Exactly the same way, and everything about this screen is fine. Now this that I'm holding is an iPad Mini, and iPods and iPad Minis are starting to become a little bit rare. You can still get them online, though. I think they're still available. But I like the Mini. The full-on iPad is a little big and a little tricky to, I don't know, to hold, depending on what kind of hardware you have with it. Mini is really not a bad size, I got to say, and with the right sled or something, could be slick. The iPod's a little small, but it is totally doable. I have a bunch of clients that use the iPod with the sleds, the Cap 2.0, and with the Linear Pro, and they do work excellent. And I really can't say anything bad about them. They have inside Prism a menu option to not use this menu, but to use a narrower menu for the iPod specifically that's already built and created. So anyway, in here, if we click into that, if we can get my big thumb to, okay, let's not use let's switch over and use a 0 here, right? And press enter, and it does the same thing as the other workstation did, exactly the same, right? You select one of those, and it puts it on the receipt. And I could also add, let's try and add a customer, right? So we'll see if we can add same customer. And it pops up and finds customers as well. And again, we're not going to give you the discount. And But everything about this is regular Prism at this point, right? So we have all of the functionality that would be in normal Prism, i.e. there's your transaction details where you'd have general fees, shipping, associates, price levels, discounts, taxes, and on our note field, like so to exempt tax, we'd go in here and change our tax area from California to exempt or something, right? We have our notes section. We could go and do anything you can do in regular Retail Pro. That Prism is the same as far as point of sale goes. There's not really a lot that they don't have done. The only differences in Prism versus Retail Pro 9/Retail Integration Layer are what's called RIL, also known as Prism Management, just to make your head hurt. The only difference is the auto utilities mostly on the back end, and a few more advanced features in inventory like committed and SRO and a few things like that, right? The basic functionality is across the board in place and ready to rock and roll. So, and of course, when you bump to Prism, you have the option of going to Prism 2.0, which is only Prism, or going to 1.147 something, and that is an RIL/Prism environment where you have basically a rebranded version of version 9 on the back end and Prism on the front end. Now, point of sale is disabled in RIL, so you can't make a sale in RIL. But that's really all you can't do in RIL. You can still go into inventory and edit inventory. You can write POs in both sides. You can receive in both sides. You can transfer in both sides. You can make adjustment memos in both sides. Time clock functionality is far superior in Prism. Promotions module, far superior in Prism. And the returning function at point of sale is very slick in Prism. I have to say I like it a lot. Not to go deeply into that, but I'll point right here on the screen so you can see that on the item level, I could click the item type and I could make that item a return, cancel, or I could make the transaction a return there at the top, and then I could search for the receipt. So I could go find the receipt and return the items, or I could scan the item and make it a return and find the receipt. I could go from the receipt to the item or from the item to the receipt. It's very flexible, very nice. Anyway, that's not what this webinar is about, right? This is about mobile point of sale. So anyway, I've scanned an item. I click tender, my transaction, and it pops over to the tender screen. I can decide what kind of tender. Now, this particular version of Prism is a couple of generations older. So on the bottom here, you see a tender type button that I could click at the tender type button and it pops up. Now the tender type button moves up. It moves up as a drop-down menu to be right where the amount taken is, right? There's two lines there, and one of them says type. You just click right there and it pops into the menu from there. It's a little more intuitive. So for our purposes right now, I'm just going to say we leave it on cash. I'm going to click the $100 bill, which is right below. So you can see here on the screen, we got the 92.87, but right below it, we got all the little dollar bills. So I'm going to click that 100, and it says it changes to 100. I click take, and it takes the 100. Says we got change of $7.13. I just click give, and at this point, Prism has the option to be configured, and this one is not, but I could turn it on so that it will automatically print the receipt or email or whatever we ask it to do as soon as we balance the transaction. So at that moment I click to give and it balanced the transaction, then it would have just fired off the receipt or gone to the email screen and grabbed the email and we could have put it in or whatever, right? This one is not configured that way. And as much as I love that feature, and I really do love that feature, I have had some clients that went live on Prism and said, I tendered out the transaction and then I made a mistake and I wanted to take it back, but I couldn't take it back because as soon as I made the mistake, it printed the receipt. It just automatically updated. So I've had to turn it off for 2 clients now that just, they want that, that safety net there of being able to look at the screen and go, oh yeah, that's right, and then click print update, right? So obviously it can be configured either way. Right now we're configured so that, hey, you have to click print update, right? So I click print update here. It comes up and shows me my change window. I click OK, and it pops up and asks me. Now, in this case, I wasn't pre-configured to send it right to a printer or to a preview. I'm going to click preview here, and it's going to pop up on the screen and show us our receipt, right? Obviously, if I printed, nobody could see it here in a in a webinar anyway, right? And it just resets back to the next transaction, ready to take the next customer. So, so in every respect, this is a full functioning regular workstation, except that I'm holding it in my hand, right? As opposed to Foundry Logic, which is very, very similar, I got to say. Foundry Logic, again, is a third-party app, but it's written specifically for Retail Pro, fully integrates. And it also, I have to say, I do like, and when this webinar isn't really about this, but I do like the mobile inventory app very much. I like this app. So I just held my finger down here, and I can rename that, right? I can change the name of that. So I can scan a section. I can rename that section to match the map when I'm counting a store. And then when it uploads, it's going to have exactly the right name on it. So I'm not going to be making stupid human errors because I didn't match the right name up with the right zone and uploaded the wrong thing to the wrong area, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm very fond of this. I also like the fact that it's by default wireless. So at the bottom, you see the cloud with the up arrow and the down arrow right down here at the bottom, right? So I do like the fact that you could scan a section on the floor. You could just click the up arrow cloud, send it up to, and it syncs wirelessly right to the server, and then you could upload that when you get to it on the main terminal, right? So again, this is not a webinar about physical inventory, but I think that if you're looking at both options, you got to kind of weigh out what direction you want to go to in the long run. There are obviously scanners, normal inventory scanners that work just fine with Prism. All of the scanners we currently sell pretty much are supported by that. Now, Foundry Logic can upload to RIL already. That's pre-existing. That's V9. And there is a plugin, I believe, that lets it upload to Prism. So you could have Prism and have Foundry Logic actually for the inventory piece. Now, I will say that these two inventory apps here, these two icons for Foundry Logic, they're licensed separately. So if you were to get Foundry Logic and you wanted both, you'd be licensing both separately, right? Where Prism is just a workstation, so it's just a license to run Prism on a device, whether it be an iPad or a workstation or anything else. Anyway, right. Is there anything else that I've missed here? Right. There's more to Foundry Logic, but most of the more to Foundry Logic part has to do with retail mobile services and the suite that manages physical inventory aspects of the Foundry Logic, which we're really not talking about today, right? So, but there is a whole module, a hosting app that loads the inventory into the mobile inventory piece, so that you're doing smart scanning, right? It's doing checking at point of scanning as opposed to point of upload, right? But again, that's not what the webinar is about today, so we're going to be skipping past that. Yes, and Prism, there's the whole write-up on Prism, and yes, everything there is possible. I mean, everything you can do in a regular workstation is possible, right? So, right, there's a little menu right there. There's the iPod menu. See, so the normal menu, well, you've seen the normal menu. I mean, let's see here. Here, back up to the main menu. Come on. Right, so see if I can get it on the same screen at the same time here, right? Right, so that's the normal main menu in Prism, right? And this little picture right here with the vertical buttons, that's the portrait version. So if you're on an iPod, you don't have as many functions. You don't have, for instance, you don't have this button down here, this Retail Pro button at the bottom. You can't go into store operations, right? If you're using the iPod, it's all about point of sale. They basically took this menu here, they chopped it down a little bit, removed some of the buttons that weren't needed, and boom, give you a short, sweet point of sale menu on the iPod, and it works fine, works great. That's what most people use on the iPod, because this main menu works fine on an iPad, and even the iPad Mini. I can see it fine, and I have pretty big reading glasses. But yeah, no, when you get to the iPod, it is just too small. And there are different there are different applications or different devices. Like, so you see on the right there, that device right there, that what do they call that again? It's the Genius. That's like the Genius Portable or something. There's also a Genius Mini. It's not the Mini. The Mini is a different device. It looks more like Square, but that device right there, that's the encrypted, approved credit card reader, so that you would be able to hand that to them, and then they could put their card in the bottom as the picture shows there, and then they could either choose credit card or debit. And if they have debit, they've got a PIN pad right there that they could put their PIN in on and hand you back the device right when it's done. That's the piece that works with Prism. But we had pictures of the other one too, but maybe we don't. Yeah, no, with these guys here, I think it's just all credit card. I don't think we can do debit. There was a debit option device, but I don't know if that I have pictures of that today, and I'm not sure it's still around. So the hardware is changing constantly, and PCI requirements change, and there's always a bit of a lag there, and it's a bit of a trick to keep everything current. But that's what they get paid for, right? So you can't really worry about that. All right, so I don't think I have much more to go over. In here, I will do this. Let's cancel. Yes. Go to options, transaction lookup. Let's do a search here. Right, so you can see that this transaction here made today at 2:23, and it's 2:30, right? And I didn't make a transaction on the computer. This was made on the iPad, right? This is the transaction that just rang up on the iPad. Or is that the one I made on Foundry Logic? That's got the 1/4 zip. I don't know. It could be the other way around. Could be one of the other ones. But they both come over, right? That's the thing, is they both. You can sell either one. I'm pretty sure this is the one I made on the on Prism on the device right there, because the time. So, but both flow through. What's broken right now on my copy of Prism, nothing to do with the mobile piece, but my Prism is not talking back to my Prism-Rpro 9. There's a problem in how it resolves there. So those transactions I made over there in Prism aren't showing up here just yet, but I'll get that fixed as of our next time. And that's just normal polling. It's because somebody was testing on my webinar machine, and they redirected it and changed some stuff, and they didn't put it back when they were done. But again, that's normal replication that's broken here, not mobile aspects of anything, right? It's just normal replication that I had tried to get Nick to take a look at, and Nick did not have time to fix it. But our normal connection manager here is what's broken. Just talking to Prism-Rpro 9 from Prism main body, but yes, it does work. I have it working in many other places, and had I seen that earlier, I would have had it fixed and working for you today. But again, I'm not really worried about that piece. That's normal. That's just normal replication that works everywhere. So everybody that's using Prism uses that, regardless of whether they have mobile devices or not, right? That's just normal for anybody on RIL or V9 that has Prism would be using replication back to Prism-Rpro 9. All right, so I don't think I have much more that I can go over in a mobile point of sale capacity. If you do have any questions, you could throw them in the chat, or you could open up your microphone or unmute. You could ask anything. If not, I think I am going to wrap this up pretty quick here and tell you to have a great rest of your day. Yes, could you get a copy of the slides? Yes, yeah, you could absolutely get a copy of the slides. Yeah, I can, and this is just Susan at Eagle Eye, right? So I can just email you this PPT file, whatever this thing here. Yeah, I could do that. Not a problem at all. Yeah, can do. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure it's the best. It's a couple of years old, but it is nice, and it does have some nice pictures, and it's got a picture of some really old inventory scanners. These are not mobile point of sale. There was a time there where people were getting confused, and that last slide has to do with mostly about inventory. This slide here that we did not get to, this one just has to do with different versions of how Prism talks, right? So so really quickly here on this first one, just so you know what this is. This first one is we're operating Prism in the cloud, right? That's what this first picture is of. There's no safety net at the store level. It's just going right to a server in another part of the country, potentially, right? Whereas this middle one here, they introduce I think we're talking a MySQL local database running on a PC. And then of course you could also have the last option is where we have a full on RIL to RIL. So you have Retail Pro 9 on both ends, or RIL on both ends, and RIL talks, and then Prism talks directly to the local RIL as opposed to one in the cloud somewhere. But that's all these are just deployment options for Prism. Everybody's so excited about having cloud only, but we all know that there's always an exception in any retail environment, and you really probably need to have a local database somewhere on premise, so you're not completely dependent on the cloud 24/7, right? You can operate standalone for a short period of time should something happen to the internet at the main office or something, right? You don't want to be totally dependent on their database. You want to have your own database. And so long as you have internet yourself and you have a local database, you can get credit card approvals, you can write things to the local database. After things come back up, it syncs back up with the main. But yeah, I could send that over to you, not a problem. All right. Thank you very much. You have a great rest of your day. Always great talking to you, even though I couldn't hear you. I do have a great deal of respect for you guys in your organization. So you have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.